guys, it's David Anderson Official, and today I'm going to teach you how to lace a 4-cross wheel. If you're not looking for a 4-cross video, 3-cross video is linked at the end of this video and in the description. What you're going to need to do this is a hub. I'm going to be using a Clutch V2 free coaster. You're going to need a rim with 36 spoke holes. I got an Aussie quadrant rim. You're going to need spokes and nipples. Because it's 4-cross and the spokes are crossing even more spokes, they need to be longer. So the ones I'm using that work for a rear wheel and a typical size free coaster with flanges, these are 194 millimeter spokes. Or 192, sorry. So these 192 millimeter spokes should work for a 4-cross. But I'm not a bike mechanic and you can't sue me. If my wheel works, yours should. The other thing you're going to want to complete this wheel is either a spoke wrench or a flathead screwdriver. You can make it work with either one, you don't need both. So the very first thing you want to do is take a spoke, and these are going to be inbound spokes that you do first. So you're going to take your hub and put a spoke down into a hole. So that's inbound going in towards the center of the wheel. Every other hole, drop a spoke in. So I put a spoke in this hole. We're going to skip this hole and put it in the one next to it. And you're going to want to do that all the way around, and that should be 9 spokes in with a hole between every single one. Okay, so here's my last spoke, and it's going in between these two with a hole in between. So that's all the way around. It looks like a little squid. Now that we have the first side, you're going to want to grab your rim and find your valve hole, because that's going to be our starting point. We have the valve hole here, and we have a spoke hole on each side. There is one higher and one lower. So we're going to take the hub, just pick one spoke and put it through that hole. Grab a nipple, start it. The looser they are, the more room you're going to have to work with while you're actually building it. After that one's in, grab the next spoke that is in line with that one, and then count 3 holes. So I have 1, 2, 3, and then go skip that one and go into the 4th hole. I'm still on the top row of holes, and I have 3 in between these two. So go ahead and throw a nipple onto that next spoke that you put in, the next spoke in line, and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3 into the 4th hole. And then you're going to want to do that all the way around. Down to our last one. The very last one should have 3 holes in between on each side. And now you have the skeleton of a wheel. The very next thing you want to do after you get it to this point is flip your wheel over, and you're going to want to follow a spoke straight down to the hub. And I'll just, so it's simple, start with the one that I started with on the last one, which is right next to the valve hole. So if you follow this spoke straight down, you'll see that there's 2 holes for spokes that don't line up. So there's one to the left and there's one to the right into this hole. So it's inbound again. So go ahead and throw your first spoke on this side in. Once you have the first spoke on your other side in, you're going to want to put it to the right of the very first spoke you threw in, or whichever spoke you started with. So straight up and to the right, if that makes sense. Nipple into that spoke so it stays. We're going to do the same thing that we did on the first side, which is throw an inbound spoke every other hole. We have this spoke in here. You're going to skip a hole and then go into the next one. And then you're going to take that and do the same thing, go to the right of the spoke on the other side. So, just like this. And then you'll start seeing this pattern. So keep throwing every other spoke in the holes on this side, and then keep going to the right of the next spoke in line all the way around. Now we're going to throw our last one in, so there should be a hole on each side of the last spoke you're throwing in, and then after you fill in this last spot on the rim, there should be 2 spoke holes in between every set of spokes that's on here, and the pattern should look like this. In there. And now you're halfway to building a wheel. The next step, and to get started on doing the actual cross lacing of this wheel, is to twist it. You're going to want to twist the hub as tight as you can so that these spokes go away from the valve hole, so that there is a big opening for the valve stem. You can see it start to make this type of pattern. And you're just going to want to make sure you twisted the hub as hard as you can. It might try and spin back on you, so just make sure while you start putting in the next spokes that you are making sure that this is as spun tight as you can make it. So this is what you should be looking at now. The first spokes we did on each side were inbound spokes, so we were throwing them into the hub. Now we're going to grab a spoke and we're going to do outbound spokes. So you're going to want to go from underneath and pick a hole. It doesn't matter which hole. It doesn't matter which hole, but you're going to want to throw a spoke in from underneath and pull it out. So now you have your first spoke starting on the cross lacing. Take the spoke that you threw in, and you can see how the lacing pattern is on these. These spokes are going to go in the opposite direction. So because this is a 4-cross lacing pattern, you're going to want to skip over 4 spokes. This spoke is in right here, and this one is right underneath it, just like that. You take the spoke that you just threw in while holding the hub tight so it doesn't untwist, and I have it sticking into this hole. And I'm going to cross this spoke that's right to the left of it, this spoke, and this spoke. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll show you what I mean after I tighten this in there a little bit. And I'll show you a bit closer. So I put the nipple onto this spoke that I just did that cross with. And because I did that, the hub is, for the most part, secure and in place. So this is the outbound spoke that we just put in. And it crosses over this spoke, whose the head of that spoke is right there. Crosses over this spoke, this spoke, this spoke, and it crosses over this spoke. So then it comes across, it skips one hole and goes into that hole. Once again, going outbound. So outbound out this hole, and then cross this one, and this one, and this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and it goes all the way over into skip a hole and this one. Sometimes the screwdriver comes in handy because you can actually push down on the nipple while you're threading it in. You can get it started easier. Now we have 2 of the cross lacing patterns. So then we're going to keep going around and adding spokes, skipping 4 whole spokes on the same side of the rim, skipping 1 hole, and then throwing it into the next hole. Throw it outbound, pull it through, cross this spoke, this spoke, this spoke, and this spoke. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip one hole up here and go into the next one. Sometimes you're going to have trouble reaching the spokes to the threads of the nipples. It's because this hub is not centered yet, and it won't be until you actually tighten everything and move the hub where you need it just to get that nipple into the right spoke. And it will straighten out as you finish the other side. I have this whole pattern done except for one hole on this side of the hub. Go up through the last hole and get it like this. And it's going to go over this spoke, go over this spoke, go over this spoke, and one more. So over 4, and then not this next hole, but this furthest hole. Throw that in, and then you have your first side done. So now this drive side is completely laced up. You can see that classic 4-cross pattern. And then you're going to flip the hub over and do the same exact thing on the other side. So you're going to want to go outbound again and pick any hole and throw another spoke through. These ones might be a little tight because now there's more spokes in the way, but you should be able to get it done. Going to do the same thing. So I'm going to cross this spoke, and I know it's hard to tell, but I'm going to cross this spoke, this spoke, this spoke, this spoke, and then there's only one hole left in between each of these spokes now. So you're just going to throw it into that hole. Okay, very first cross spoke on this side, you're going to go around the wheel and do the same thing. So throw a spoke outbound, cross 4 spokes, and then go into the only remaining open hole. There's only one hole for it to go in after you cross 4 spokes. Throw another one in, pick it up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's only one hole left. Do this all the way around the wheel. I just have one spoke remaining, so there's only one hole that is unfilled in the entire rim. Same thing, there's one hole left on the hub. So last spoke, crossover 4, should fit up perfectly into the last hole. Okay, so out, it fits perfectly into this last hole here. Go ahead and give that spoke a few turns, and then your wheel is built, and it is not straight because half these spokes are loose, half these spokes are tight, the wheel isn't fully turned. This is a brand new rim, so if I get every single spoke to the perfect amount of tightness and equally turn the spokes as I'm getting them to seed a little, this wheel should be straight right out the box. Okay, so the very last thing to get this wheel actually on your bike and able to ride is to take your spoke wrench or your screwdriver. I use both because putting the wheel together is usually easier with the screwdriver because you can push down on the nipple before it's threaded. This part is easier with a spoke wrench. You're going to go around, and I usually start everything at the valve hole so that I can keep track of where I started. And I'm going to give every spoke that is very loose on this side a couple turns until it is straight. This one, that's bowed out a little, and same on this side. So as we tighten them, it's going to pull the hub centered. So the hub could be out one way or more on the wheel. As you tighten them, it will come together. And don't do too much on just one side. If it starts pulling all of these ones straight, don't keep going. Flip it to the other side and do these side. Do this side. I'm just tightening the last few loose spokes and everything is looking good. So I'll show you real quick. So this is the 4-cross pattern. Thank you guys for watching. This is a much sturdier and stronger wheel than a 3-cross would be, and it also just looks nice. So if you know how to do both, you'll be able to build stronger wheels for yourself in the future. And thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, and I'm gonna go get tacos. Bye. Did any of you notice that I have a microphone now?
Hey, subscribe.